Good morning and welcome to TAPP Talk number 39. Here we are live at Monday to Friday, and today we are talking about forever chemicals. What are they? What do they do? And do we have them in Malta? So this is about forever chemicals that are in drinking water, or maybe in drinking water. Now, if you're catching the recording, we are live every day from Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. You can ask questions anytime, and you can get all the details of the shows and the previous things we've done on tapwater.mt/live or on YouTube at Tapwater Malta. And let's get straight into it today. Let me just add this to the stream. So we've got some slides today just to give out some facts and for you to consider what you might want to do about forever chemicals in your water supply. So what are they? Well, forever chemicals are chemical compounds that are put together, and they focus on the carbon-fluorine bond, so the bond of those two molecules. And there's particular types of definitions of them, but we're not going to go into that, but they have carbon and fluorine in them, and there's a subgroup of forever chemicals that are fluorosuffocants, and that's things like detergents, emulsifiers, foaming agents. So straight away, you can imagine how many of these chemicals are around still and what they're used for. And we'll come on to that in a minute. We're going to go into where we see them, what kind of uses they have, and also where we can, are they around in Malta, are they all over the world, and all sorts of things like that. So a forever chemical, why are they called forever chemicals? Well, the correct definition of them is a persistent organic pollutant. Okay, what does that mean? Well, it basically means they're chemical compounds that hang around for ages, and they're easily transportable, so they cross between water, food, physical objects, and air. So they actually do adversely affect human health, and there are quite a few studies about this over the past few years. And they've been linked to all sorts of things. I'm not going to go through the whole list because it's quite scary, but all sorts of things, including cancer, for instance. And what we have to realize is that what it is interesting to realize is that persistent organic pollutants that we generate in one country are found all over the world. And in fact, because of that, from 2014, 179 countries are signed up to what's known as the Stockholm Convention. And Malta is a fully ratified signature of that convention. And this was a realization that if something wasn't done to control the use of this type of chemical, then all the countries would just be polluting themselves. Now, not everybody is signed up to it, but a lot of the world is signed up to it because a lot of the world's countries do recognize that it's a significant problem, both environmentally and humanly. So, where do we find these PFASs? All right, well, insecticides, pesticides, solvents, pharmaceuticals, industrial chemicals, food packaging, clothing, cosmetics, non-stick cooking pans, and waterproof clothing is the list that I've got, mostly from Wikipedia, and all the references are here. So I've just done some general research. I'm not an expert in these matters, but what I wanted to know was, okay, well, if I see an article in the newspaper about PFASs, what on earth are they? Where do I find them, and are they dangerous to me? Well, they're all over the place. So especially if you're looking at things like cosmetics, non-stick cooking pans, that surprised me. So I guess that's things like the coating, that black coating that, you know, remember sometimes when you're scraping the pan, a little bit of that will peel off. I guess that's how it gets into our environment. And then what do? We wash it down the sink in the washing up, and then it goes out into the water, etc., etc., etc. So you can imagine that once we look at how many uses there are, because obviously they were designed to be useful, to make things like lipstick or even solvents and pharmaceuticals and pesticides and insecticides, these are all things that we would count as useful to ourselves, but not very good for the environment. So yeah, they're found in lots of common areas. Now, this was an interesting thing that I picked up on from some BBC research. So basically, forever chemicals, we knew before that there was the Stockholm Convention because it's a global problem. Persistent organic pollutants or forever chemicals produced in one country often end up in another. And in fact, that is the case. There is some BBC research that suggested that rainwater in most locations on Earth contains levels of chemicals that greatly exceed the safety levels. The safety levels they're referring to there were the European safety levels, and those safety levels are different to the United States and some other countries. There's not necessarily an agreement on the safe levels of PFASs, but there's not a lot that is safe about them when you look at the list of health concerns. So also in America, I picked out this thing from Wikipedia again. 26,000 US sites are contaminated with PFAS. They have actually done quite a lot of research in America. And loads of people affected by drinking water. And in particular, the BBC, in the next article that I found, they'd done some research, in particular in Jersey, where there was a particular aquifer that was had very high content of PFASs, and locally in the area there were very high instances of all sorts of illnesses such as cancer, for instance, and medical issues. So we know we know that they exist. We know that they are commonly found in a lot of substances, and these are substances that we use every day. We know that if they're used in one country, it just passes to another country because it's an easily transportable compound and it sticks around forever. It doesn't degrade. That's the important thing about the forever chemicals. It doesn't degrade through any sort of natural process, so they just stay around, going from sort of one medium to the other, so food, water, vegetables, etc. So here we are in the UK, where there's quite a lot of issues on those. So do we have them in Malta? Oh yes, we do indeed. So this was a 2020 PhD thesis that found the presence of forever chemicals in our drinking water, fruit and vegetables, and seawater. So in particular, this study looked at rainwater, groundwater, tap water, bottled water, wastewater, valley sediments, as well as the fruit and vegetables. And it was found that forever chemicals are all over. Interestingly, right at the you see that at the bottom there, there's a link here to the Times of Malta article, which is a 2020 article for this research. All sediment, soil and groundwater samples were contaminated with at least one forever chemical. But I did note that the concentration of the forever chemicals in groundwater were below the EU parameters. And the EU parameters actually are lower than a lot of other countries, certainly lower than the States. So, yes, we have them in Malta. Yes, they are an issue because there are some health concerns. And what is interesting, I thought, was this research concentrated on rainwater. You know, if you stand out in the rain, you often think this is wonderfully clean, fresh rainwater that you would just drink. Well, these chemicals are found in rainwater, in fact, all over the world, including in Malta. But what was interesting about this was the fact that the test also included bottled water. So the PFASs, the forever chemicals, are going from one medium to another medium and ending up in your bottled water as well. Now, a point of delivery water filter resolves this issue as 95% of all PFASs of three different types, as signified there. This is the tap water certification for these products, and you can see that 95% of these chemicals are filtered out. And there's a link to the document there, which is on Tap Water's main website. The independent test results we had done in Malta didn't include PFASs as a general thing, although some of the compounds were included that count as PFASs. So the tap water products are certified to remove 95% of PFASs from your drinking water. And again, that is one of the advantages of having a point of delivery water filter, because as the water is coming out of the tap, it passes through a filter here. Let me just show you here. And is then filtered. If it's coming through here, it's not filtered. If it's coming through here, it is then filtered. So this is the point at where things like PFASs, including insecticides, pesticides, these chemical compounds, including other things such as 100 other contaminants, such as microplastics, pharmaceuticals, antibacterials, heavy metals, chlorine, chloramine, THMs, bromofoam, all that kind of things. They're all being removed from your water exactly prior to drinking. And that's a very powerful thing, really, because there's no area of contamination from here to your glass or from here to your bottle that you're going to put in the fridge. And you're much more in control of what's happening to your water after you've filtered it. So it's a great way of being able to ensure that whatever is happening before then is filtered out. And in fact, our water standards are better. It just, generally speaking, people don't like the taste of water in Malta, so they want to filter it out, and that's what this filter does. It removes things like chlorine, for instance, and which also affect, as well as the things like sediment and rust, which affects the taste and the feel of the water. And it also makes it slightly softer, in fact, in the independent tests that we did, because Malta's water is actually a little bit hard, but it's quite soft when you filtered it out, and also dealt with the lime scale, so that you don't get lots of clogging in your kettles and stuff like that. And removing the heavy metals and rust and sediment is also great, because we know some of the piping systems that we have, even if they've been replaced in the road, it may be that your house doesn't have such great piping systems. And sometimes if you're in an apartment block, you can't do much about that. So having a filter at point of delivery is a very powerful concept at that point. So finally, that's all for today on the forever chemicals. However, I did want to show you this wonderful comment that I received this morning from Julia. We tend to record, or I tend to record, all the comments that we get back from customers. We do like a post-purchase survey and stuff like that, and we ask people what they think. And Julia says she has both the shower filter and the kitchen tap, and we couldn't have made a better choice. So that's really nice to know. It's very encouraging when we receive things like this, so I'm always grateful when people send it in. In particular, with the shower filter, I noticed a clear improvement in my hair, which since I moved to Malta started falling and breaking way more than I used to. I have thin, straight hair, and the lime scale was just killing it. The skin also feels much less stressed. So that's a lovely thing to say about the shower filter. We've had lots of positive comments about the shower filter. There was a few things on TikTok and in a newspaper as well. And it's nice. We have some. We actually ran out of stock for them. Then they came in, and then we've got some more coming on the way. So Julia did actually find a problem with replacing the filter in the shower filter because she found it difficult to remove. And I've written to her and suggested that she use oil, either WD-40 or coconut oil, which is a bit more environmentally friendly, to open it. And yes, sometimes they do get a bit sticky, but they do open up, and if you get a problem, then just let us know. The tap water filter in the kitchen is great for those eco-friendly reasons, not using plastic bottles, that's why. And because it allows us to drink water that still has some minerals. Indeed, Malta's mineral content, the pH is actually quite high. It's quite alkaline water, which is great. And it does have a taste. because it's got the minerals water in it. It's not like a flat reverse osmosis water. It's got a bit of body to it. It's got a bit of taste to it. And it does take some people some time to get used to the taste. That's why we do a 45-day guarantee. So if you didn't get used to the taste, no problem. Full refund and we collect it. And that does happen in about 5% of cases. 95% of people keep their tap because it's far more convenient, it's very eco-friendly, it's environmentally friendly, it saves loads of money, and if you found it strange to taste right at the very beginning, then you get used to it straight away. And some people, in fact, just taste it and say, wow, that's great, I'll stick with it. Other people, yeah, that's okay, I don't mind it, and then they're okay about it, and they get significantly used to it. And other people, not too sure, and then after a week they get used to it. So it's wonderful to see someone who will not go back to plastic bottled water. Yes, it's a freedom to be able to do that. And we're approaching 2,500 customers here in Malta, which means that we are saving well over 2 million plastic bottles a year, over 500 tons of CO2 a year, and that's a hell of a lot of kilometres in your hybrid car. So together, 2,500 TAPP heroes are making a dent in the environmental damage that we have through plastic bottles, and saving over 2 million plastic bottles. Did you know that is nearly 10% of all the recycling of plastic bottles last year? That's what TAPP heroes are doing currently, which is amazing. It's much more effective to not use them in the first place than use them and recycle them, because, as I've done in some of the other sessions, you never know where they're going, do you? Really afterwards. Where we export our recycling from here in Malta, and who knows where they go afterwards. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're watching a recording, you can see us at tapwater.mt/live. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up there and subscribe to the channel. It would be good to see you about. And you can ask questions anytime you want to when you come on to a live session. Or if you stick a comment on one of the videos, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, and we'll pick that comment up and be able to answer your question. In the meantime, I hope you have a super day. Tomorrow it is a public holiday, and we will be live at 10 o'clock with a very exciting new product launch. So tune in for then, and obviously a special offer as well. And look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much.